The walls exploded. 6 black armored figures dropped through the ceiling like shadows wrapped in thunder. No insignias, no voices. Just movement. Perfect and cold. One raised a weapon. Varric screamed, "No!" A pulse of blue light exploded. From Jace's chest, the shot never reached her. The revenant armor formed a hard light shield in midair, catching the blast. Jace didn't think. He moved. The floor shattered under his step. He slammed into the attacker before they could aim again, sent them flying through the wall. Another flanked from behind. The armor saw it before he did. A blade extended from Jace's arm. Smooth. Glowing. He turned and blocked the strike, then twisted, disarming the soldier with ease that didn't belong to him. He didn't want to kill them. But the armor did. Threat level. Execution approved. No. His voice cut through the HUD. The armor paused, hesitated. He knocked the attacker out instead. The remaining 4 circled him. Their leader stepped forward, helmet shifting. "You are the anomaly." "I didn't ask for this," Jace said. "Doesn't matter. You wear a god's skin." He raised his rifle again. But this time, Jace didn't block. He raised his hand, and the rifle melted. Not from heat, from command. The weapon disassembled itself midair, piece by piece, bolt by bolt. The leader stumbled back. Impossible. Jace stepped forward, eyes glowing. No more war, no more orders. He reached out, and the strike team system shut down all of them. Weapons, armor, comms. They froze, like statues. Then the armor spoke, not in Jace's voice. "This unit is under sovereign protocol. Any further attack will be answered with extinction." The strike team vanished. No sound, just instant extraction. Hours later, Jace stood in front of Commander Raxiel. No armor, just his voice. "You sent them," he said. Raxiel looked away. "You scare them. You scare me." Jace nodded. "Good." He stepped closer. Because the last revenant didn't get scared, he got angry. Raxiel tensed. "Are you threatening me?" "No," Jace said softly. "I'm warning you." He turned to leave. "Next time, don't miss. Far beyond." The signal echoed again. The revenant resisted purge. He controls the relic. Phase 2 begins, and somewhere in the dark, the Chainborn woke up. The rise of revenant in the cold dark between stars. An old station blinked back to life, not because of power, but because of permission. Jace stood alone on its command deck, the revenant armor fully active, its lights glowing like veins of starlight beneath the skin of a god. Before him, massive, rings of metal rotated around the station's core, each one humming softly, as if waking from a dream too long and too full of death. "Access granted," the armor whispered, linking remaining forger nodes. Chain complete. Screens burst open. Dozens, hundreds. Across the galaxy, ancient relay points flared, abandoned satellites, buried towers, black-boxed ships no one had dared to touch. Now, they all answered to one signal. His, in less than a day, the galaxy changed. On mining colonies in the Dust Belt, dying life support systems rebooted. On pirate-controlled moons, defense grids exploded without warning. On a forgotten border world, a city once lost beneath sand reemerged, walls rising, with holograms etched in languages older than fire. In every corner of space, the message was the same. The revenant walks. Systems obey. But Jace didn't want to rule. He wanted truth. And the armor finally showed him why it had waited for him. Not for a soldier, not for a conqueror, but for someone who still knew how to say no. Aboard the Vecratoon, fear had turned into silence. No one mocked him now. They moved around him like ghosts. They didn't salute. They didn't speak unless spoken to. Some called him revenant. Others just avoided his eyes. Only Varric stayed close. She watched as he studied new systems, unlocked weapon vaults, accessed records even the warlords of the High Councils hadn't touched. She asked one question. "What are you building?" He looked at her, Voice low. Not building. Restoring. Restoring what? Balance, he said. Before the Chainborn arrive. The Chainborn were not myths. They were not forgotten. They were waiting. And now, with Jace reactivating Forger tech, they stirred. Deep within void space, between realities, massive ships turned their eyes toward him. Engines pulsed with old hunger. Artificial minds, once silent, resynced. They remembered the last war, and the one who wore the armor, and they hated him. On the outer rim, 3 mercenary fleets tried to trap a Forger signal source. They failed. Jace arrived first. The fleets opened. Fire. 1,000,000 rounds. Focused beams. EMP storms. None of it reached him. He floated through space. No ship, just the armor. And as the blasts hit, the armor expanded. Evolved. A hard light shell formed around him. An echo of a battle form long erased from memory. His hands moved like lightning. Each time he gestured, one of the fleet's core systems collapsed, not destroyed, converted. Ships turned on each other. Weapons reprogrammed themselves mid-burst. Minutes. Later, the battle ended. No one died, but not one ship resisted after. They broadcast a single word to the stars. Yield. News of Jace spread like solar wind. But it wasn't fear now. It was awe. On backwater planets, children carved the symbol of the Revenant into stone. On prison worlds, rebels whispered his name as a warning and a prayer. On Imperial channels, military leaders debated launching another kill squad. But most just asked, if he's this powerful, why hasn't he taken anything? The answer came from Jace himself, broadcast freely without encryption to every listening system. Because I didn't come to rule you. I came to warn you. The Chainborn are coming. And they won't ask questions. In a hidden facility at the edge of black space, the Chainborn leaders met. They didn't speak with mouths. They communicated in pulses, spikes of thought. Their leader, a being made of black steel and starlight, hovered over a table of fractured galaxies. Its core flickered. He resists consumption. Another thought. Swarm responded. He speaks of mercy. He unifies. He strengthens. The chaos. A third voice, ancient and rusted. Then he is not a tool. No, said the leader. He is a threat. On the restored station, Jace stood before a window of pure starfield. The armor pulsed with new energy. Within its memory core, a message unlocked. A voice. Not his. Not the armor's. But human. To the one who wakes. Do not become me. I wore this armor before you. I burned too much, I lost too much. The Chainborn don't fear destruction. They fear meaning. Give them something to fear. The last protocol, the stars above the dead zone bent inward. One by one, they flickered and vanished. Not from collapse, not from time, but from arrival. The Chainborn had come. Not ships in the traditional sense, not creatures, not machines. They were invasions made into shape, and the sky itself became their weapon. The first wave struck without warning. Entire moons blinked out. Planetary crusts folded like soft metal. Orbital defense rings snapped under pressure fields that obeyed no known law of physics. The galactic councils went silent, not because they gave up, but because there was no plan for this. And in the heart of it all, Jace stood. He was not on a throne, not at the head of fleets, just standing alone, on the edge of an ancient Forger citadel orbiting a black sun where the final protocols waited. The armor had changed. Now a living interface of memory and metal. It pulsed with raw starlight across his body. His thoughts no longer whispered. They commanded. He had access to every remaining Forger node, every defensive relay, every AI that had sworn never to awaken again. But the armor wasn't asking for, or it was asking for decision, and for the first time, Jace hesitated. The voice of the last revenant echoed in his mind. I chose fire, and the stars paid for it. Don't do what I did. Don't burn them to protect them. Varric stood beside him on the Citadel platform. They're breaking. Through? She said. If you wait any longer, I know. You could stop this. Now. He looked at her. Or I could become the reason the next war starts. The armor opened its interface. A sphere of glowing ancient script hovered before him. Last protocol. Sovereign override. Deploy. The arc mind. He knew what that meant. A final weapon. A living storm of forgotten technology designed to erase anything. Not chosen by the revenant system, friend or foe. Once deployed, there would be no turning back. Suddenly, space twisted. A chain-born leader emerged from a rift above the citadel, taller than a titan, surrounded by rings of pulsing matter that weren't real, but still tore the metal around them like cloth. It's so... Voice was soundless but felt. You wear the memory of extinction. We were not made to die, you were. Jay stepped forward. Maybe, he said. But I remember why. The chain-born raised a limb, shifting reality, and Jace moved, not to attack, but to reach out. His hand glowed. His armor responded. Stop, he commanded. The chain-born paused. We do not stop. You will, he said, because I'm not giving you the war you want. The chain-born launched a psychic barrage, images of death, pain, endless loss. But the armor shielded his mind, and instead of retaliation, Jace knelt. A flash of light tore through the air. Every chain-born within 100 systems felt it, a message pulsing from every forger node. I have the power to end you. But I choose not to. This is the new memory. The chain-born leader faltered. Its limbs twitched. Not in anger, in confusion. They had expected the revenant to burn, to retaliate, to fulfill the echo of violence written in the armor's code. They never planned for a human who could say no. A pulse spread from the citadel. Systems across the galaxy synced. Not for war, for rebuilding. Collapsed stars were reignited, ruins restructured. Language relays rewritten with one word. Peace. On a far-off world, a child looked up at the night sky, where once a warning had blinked, now a symbol shone bright. The revenant's mark. Return to laughter. The walk back to the ship was quiet. Too quiet. Jace didn't rush. He moved one step at a time, his boots echoing across the metal floor of the derelict wreck. The armor wrapped around him like a second skin, humming low with every breath, every blink, every thought. Behind him, the awakened machine walked in silence. It was massive, 20 feet tall, built like a god of war. But it followed him like a shadow, not a monster. Its voice, soft but heavy, spoke only once. Target. Lock disabled. Non-hostiles in range. Observing. Jace didn't know what that meant, but the way the corridors shifted to let them pass, he understood one thing. The ship remembered this machine, and it remembered him now. On board the salvage vessel, Vekratun, the crew was gathered on the lower deck. He's still not responding, said one technician, her voice shaking. His signal dropped, then reappeared, at 5 times normal energy output. He must have triggered a power core, muttered a scout, or got himself fused into an engine again. The commander was less patient. Enough guessing. Send. A drone. Wait, no. I want eyes on him. Just then the dock doors opened, and the laughter stopped. Every crew member turned. Jace walked into the light, not limping, not nervous, wearing ancient armor, glowing with faint blue circuits, shoulders squared, eyes steady. His gaze swept the crew, but he didn't speak. Not yet, because the machine followed. Its footsteps were thunder, its presence impossible. Someone dropped their weapon. Another stepped back and whispered, "That's revenant armor. I thought it was extinct." "It was," another said. "Before we were even born." Commander Raxil stepped forward, jaw clenched. "Remove it," he barked. "Whatever it is, it's not yours." Jay stopped a few feet away. "I didn't take it," he said quietly. "It chose me." "No armor chooses a human," Raxil growled. The machine behind Jace growled back. Its voice was louder now, a growl of old code and hidden fury. "Stand down. Do not threaten the commander." Raxil froze. "What? Did it call you?" Jace didn't answer. Instead, he turned to the central console, raised his hand and touched the screen. The system pulsed once, then bent to his command. Screens lit up. Systems unlocked. Restricted files flooded the display. "How is he doing?" "That?" someone whispered. "He's interfacing directly," the tech said. Like the ship recognizes him," Raxil snapped. "Shut it off." "I can't," she said. "He is the system now." Jace turned, his voice calm. "I don't want control. I came here to fix broken engines, remember? I was the guy who carried your tools, who couldn't lift what you could, who didn't matter." Paused. The armor pulsed again, but something inside this ship thought I did. He stepped closer to Raxil. "You mocked me. You called me cargo boy. But the armor, it called me commander." The silence that followed was long, until the machine spoke again. "Unit Jace is bonded to the last Sovereign-class relic. Protocol activation complete. Orders. Pending." Raxil shook his head. "You don't understand what you brought back." Jace nodded slowly. "I'm starting to." He turned to leave. But before stepping into the lift, he looked back. "I'm not your cargo boy anymore." The doors closed. Deep in the command center, Jace stood alone with the machine beside him. He stared out the window into the stars. "Why, me?" he asked softly. The armor whispered, "Because you didn't want power, only purpose. Because your kind forgot what it means to carry a burden without glory. And because the galaxy doesn't need another king, it needs a revenant." Far away across forgotten space, old systems flickered to life. Beacons long dead began to blink again. Machines buried in stars opened their eyes. And a warning spread like wildfire through the black. The human wears the armor. He walks with the warforged. And he remembers nothing, yet. Ghosts in the shell. The armor was never quiet for long. At first, the voice whispered only commands. Shield. Activation, threat assessments, environmental data, but now it spoke in memories. They came at night when Jace tried to sleep. Visions. Dreams. Shadows of war not written in any human history. He saw them clearly. Giants walking among fire. Machines and men fighting together. Stars dying in silence. And always, at the center of it all, a figure in the same armor he now wore. But taller. Colder. Darker. The revenant before him, and around that revenant, bodies. Millions. Jace woke each time with a cold weight in his chest. The armor pulsed. Softly, you remember what matters. In the control room of the Vecra Tune, Jace sat in silence as encrypted data flowed through his neural HUD. His fingers didn't move. The armor moved them. Through him. Every tap on the console was perfect. He was unlocking systems no one had touched. In 10,000 years, behind him, Varek, the ship's former engineer, watched nervously. You're not really Jace anymore, are you?" Jace didn't answer, because he wasn't sure. The armor fed him files, images, designs, maps of other ruins, signals from hidden places, from weapons long buried, and one final directive burned into the memory of the armor. Find the last cradle, awaken the seed fleet. End the unfinished war. He whispered the words without knowing what they meant. Elsewhere on the ship, fear spread faster than answers. The alien crew no longer mocked him. They whispered, watched him from corners, locked their doors at night, because they saw what the armor was doing. Systems reprogrammed themselves. When he walked by, hallways lit up. Doors opened on their own. Even the medbay had started printing supplies Jace hadn't ordered, but that he somehow needed. It's like the ship wants him, one soldier said. No, the commander corrected, quietly. It's afraid of him. That fear reached its peak when the first echo activated. Deep in the lower cargo hold, the ship's scanners picked up movement, where there should have been none. Jace went alone. The armor led him to a black sphere sealed in a cryochamber. As he approached, it flickered to life. Light scanned his armor. The chamber hissed open. Inside, a shape stood. Not human, not alien. A ghost made of glass and metal. It turned to Jace and spoke in a layered voice. "You are not him." Jace took a step back. "Who are you?" "I am Echo 12, Memory Guardian. Designed to survive the fall of our kind. Our? You call us revenants. We called ourselves forgers. You wear our final hope." The ghost reached out, touching the chest of his armor. "But you are wrong." Jace tensed. The ghost tilted its head. "You're too human. The last revenant burned entire worlds without blinking, and now the armor has chosen someone who hesitates." The word stung, but Jace didn't step away. He met the ghost's gaze. "Maybe that's why it chose me." The ghost was silent. Then, softly, "Perhaps that's what we needed all along." The lights dimmed. The ghost vanished. In its place, a small sphere of data floated into Jace's hand. New memory core acquired. And just like that, more visions returned. Not of battle, but of the last revenant crying in silence, just before he vanished into the stars. When Jace returned to the crew, his voice was firmer, his back straighter, but his eyes sadder. "The armor remembers a war," he said, "but it also remembers its end, and it remembers what it lost." The commander stepped forward. "And what did it lose?" "Itself," Jace answered. "It forgot what it was fighting for." He looked down at the glowing lines on his arm. "I won't." Far across the stars, a signal blinked awake. The revenant walks. "The forger's echo has passed the key. Prepare the chainborn." In deep space, an ancient fleet began to stir, not with rage, not with hunger, but with a single purpose: to test the new. Run. The betrayal above, the message was sent in silence. Commander Raxiel waited until the corridor was empty. He sealed the door behind him, deactivated the surveillance bugs, disabled his personal guard. Then, in the dark of the comms chamber, he activated a private link to the Galactic War Registry. His voice was cold. "This is Commander Raxiel of the salvage ship Vekratun. I am reporting an Omega-class anomaly. Human designation Jace. He is bonded with pre-collapse relic tech. Possible revenant reactivation confirmed." He paused. "Advise immediate extraction. If resistance, terminate." He ended the call and stood in the silence. Not as a leader, but as a man who had just betrayed the only soldier who hadn't fired a single shot, and was still the most dangerous being he had ever seen. Above them, hidden in the shadow of a dead moon, a black ship blinked into view, silent, cloaked. Inside sat the Void cadre, an elite strike team trained for one thing: to eliminate threats before they became legends. They didn't speak. They didn't sleep. They simply received a signal, blinked once in acknowledgement, and vanished toward the surface. On board the Vekratun, Jace sat in the armory bay. His armor had opened slightly at the back, allowing him to breathe, to feel his skin again. He stared at his hands, still human, still his, but the memories flooding through his mind, they weren't. He saw flashes of alien stars, of mechanical thrones, of fire-swallowing fleets. A name whispered again and again: "The Chainborn are coming." He didn't know what they were, but the armor feared them, and the armor did not fear easily. Varek found him just before the attack. She rushed in, breathless. "Jace, something's wrong. Someone's coming." "What do you mean?" "I overheard Raxiel. He reported you." Jace stood, armor sealing itself around him in seconds. "How long?" Varek swallowed. "Maybe minutes." They didn't get that long. The lights went out, then came the silence, and from it, a whisper, not in words but in presence. The weakest on the team, Jace knew they were laughing at him. They didn't try to hide it. Every time he dropped a tool, every time he lagged behind during drills, every time he asked a question, someone snorted or whispered something in alien tongues. That always ended in laughter. They called him Cargo Boy, He was the only human on the crew of the salvage ship Vecratoon, and he didn't belong here. Everyone made sure he remembered that. The crew was made of tall, scaled warriors from the planet Shurak, lean tech specialists from Varun Prime, and even 2 cloned war beasts that never spoke but always stared at him with glowing red eyes. And then there was Jace, short, human, soft-spoken. No cybernetic limbs, no natural armor, no enhanced vision, just old-fashioned human muscles, calloused fingers, and a small tool belt he wore like it was something sacred. He wasn't here to fight. He was here to fix things. At least that's what the Human Union promised when they sent him. But so far, he had only repaired broken doors, scraped off rusted panels, and been told to stand back while the real crew handled anything serious. On the 3rd week of their mission, they reached a dead zone. Sector D-19, Forgotten Space, said Commander Raxil, the crew leader, an old battlefield. Nothing but wrecks and ghosts. The crew prepared for a salvage run. The ship they were targeting was an ancient derelict, floating cold and dead near the edge of a collapsed star. No signals, no defense system, no crew. Logs, just dark metal and silence. Only one rule, Raxil said. Stay together, no wandering off. But no one was watching Jace. They never did. The derelict ship was massive, its hulls lined with strange markings and scorched battle damage. Inside, the air was stale, dry. Lights flickered weakly. Doors groaned open after years of sleep. The team moved in with scanners and weapons drawn. Jace walked behind them carrying spare batteries and tools. He stayed quiet, focused on readings. The walls were thick with carbon. Strange tech hummed beneath the floor. His scanner blinked, a small signal separate from the rest. Very faint, deep inside the ship. He looked up. The crew was moving down another hallway, arguing over salvage priorities. Jace hesitated, then turned and followed the signal. He moved alone through a dark corridor, the air colder here. The lights were almost gone. The walls were covered in strange vines, like frozen cables, lifeless and dry. His scanner beeped louder. He followed the sound to a sealed door at the far end. It was old, different from the others. Its surface was etched with a pattern that pulsed. Softly, when he got close, he raised his hand. The door responded, not to his touch, but to his presence. With a slow hiss, it opened. Inside was a small chamber, round and silent, and at the center, floating above a raised platform, was the armor. Jace stepped in slowly. The chamber lights brightened with his steps. He didn't speak. He couldn't. The armor was massive, black with gold lines, shaped like something from another time. It floated in the air, pieces orbiting a central core that pulsed like a heartbeat. His scanner died. His comm went silent. The door closed behind him. A voice filled the room, deep, layered. Not male, not female, not alive. Unit detected. Human. Unmodified. Clearance. Level 0. Jace took a step back. What is this place? The voice ignored him. Anomaly accepted. Unlocking dormant bond protocol. The armor pieces stopped spinning. They faced him. Do you wish to become revenant? Jace shook his head. I don't even know what that means. The armor pulsed again and floated closer. He stepped back, now scared, but his feet wouldn't move far. The room felt smaller now. The air tighter. The armor moved around him, not attacking, not hostile, just watching. Compatibility. Confirmed. The armor split into 5 pieces. One moved to his chest, another to his arms. He tried to stop it, but the moment the first piece touched his skin, he felt strength, raw, quiet, powerful. His fear melted. His hands stopped shaking. His back straightened. He took a breath. The armor sealed itself to him, piece by piece, until the lights dimmed and the core settled in the center of his chest. The voice returned. You are not weak anymore. Protocol Revenant active. Jace looked at his hands. They weren't his anymore, but they felt like they always should have been. Outside the sealed chamber, deep in the wreckage, The alien crew searched for Jace. He wandered off again. One of them grunted. "He's probably lost under a console, or crying in a corner," another joked. They all laughed until the lights around them began to flicker, and a new signal appeared on their scanners. Not a human, not alien. Something older, something waking up. Awakening the relic, Jace stood in the dark. The armor clung to his body like it had always belonged there. It didn't feel heavy. It felt like breath, like instinct. His vision changed. Colors sharpened, shapes clearer. Distance measured in real time. Every sound became crisp. Every surface glowed faintly with hidden signals. His heartbeat slowed. The voice spoke again, calmer this time. Synaptic lock complete. Neural pathways aligned. Human designation. Revenant, he whispered. "What does that mean?" The chamber around him began to shift. Parts of the wall slid open to reveal old consoles, blinking screens, and strange holograms. Dust fell from the ceiling as dormant systems awakened. Long-range systems offline. Command link disabled. Waiting. New directive. Jace took a step forward. The armor responded with a soft hiss of energy. He felt stronger, more balanced. His hands moved without delay. He reached for the console, and the moment his fingers touched the surface, data bloomed like fire. Memories. Not his. A battlefield in space. Ships burning. Planets screaming. A warrior in the same armor, standing in silence while enemies fired everything they had. He didn't move. He didn't run. He simply walked forward, unbroken, until they stopped firing, because there was nothing left to shoot with. Jace yanked his hand back. The memory ended. His breathing turned rough. "That was real?" the voice answered. "You are bonded to Command Shell. Relic class Warframe. You are the last compatible host. This unit has waited 6,713 years. Jace backed away. "I'm not a warrior. You are now." He turned to the door. It was still sealed. "Let me out." Confirmed. The door slid open, and light rushed in. Meanwhile, on the far side of the derelict ship, the alien crew was arguing. "I'm telling you, he's not on the scanner anymore. Maybe he fell into a pit." "No, there's a new signature. High energy, ancient code." The commander stepped forward. "Where?" The tech pointed toward the sealed corridor. "There." But that section was marked off. Unstable hull. The commander narrowed his eyes. "We're going in. Double squad, full armor, something's wrong." Jace moved slowly through the corridor, the armor adjusting as he walked. Small panels flexed across his arms and shoulders. Data floated in the corner of his vision. Pulse readings, thermal scans, pathfinding grids. He didn't understand most of it, but it didn't matter. His body did. He reached the central hangar, a place the crew hadn't entered yet. And there, buried under twisted wreckage and old scaffolding, was something massive. A fallen machine. Its body was humanoid, but it was no drone. Its chest bore the same sigil glowing on Jace's armor. He stepped closer, and the voice whispered, "First night, fallen, protocol unfulfilled. Reconnect?" Before Jace could speak, a sharp voice cut through the air behind him. "Don't move." He turned. The crew stood at the hangar entrance, weapons raised. "What are you wearing?" the commander barked. Jace took a breath. I don't know exactly, but it found me, and I think—" "Shut up," one of the warriors shouted. "Take it off now." Jace stepped back. "You don't understand. This armor, it's old. It's powerful. It remembers things. I saw wars. You're unstable," the commander growled. "This isn't yours. Nothing human ever is." They raised their rifles. The armor pulsed. "Danger. Detected. Countermeasures active. No," Jace whispered. "Don't hurt them. Just protect me." The armor responded. A shimmer of blue light flared around him. A kinetic shield. Shots fired from the crew bounced off harmlessly. Panic broke. "Out! He's shielding!" "What is that suit?" Jace stood in the center of chaos, breathing hard. He didn't want to fight, but he also couldn't surrender. "I didn't choose this," he shouted. "It chose me." And then, a roar shook the ship. Not from the crew, not from Jace, from the machine. The broken titan behind him shuddered, its eyes lit up. Its limbs moved. Its voice returned. Unit Revenant confirmed. Command structure online. Rising from sleep, the alien crew turned and ran. Jace turned around. The machine stood, twice as tall as anything human. Its hands sparked, with memory, and it knelt before Jace. "What are you doing?" Jace whispered. The machine replied, "Awaiting orders, Commander."